Good evening, everyone. I'll call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Eastridge, April 14, 2022, 6 p.m. I'd like to ask Terry Arnold, the Senior Pastor of the Pentecostal of Eastridge, if he'll come forward, provide our invocation, and lead us in our pledge.
Heavenly Father, we come before you today so very thankful for the goodness of God upon our community. Lord, tonight we recognize your authority over our lives, over our city. And we know, Lord, according to your word, that the governments that be are ordained of God. And we know, Lord, that our council tonight will serve the best interests of our city. And we ask your Holy Spirit to help in these deliberations. May our heart be filled with peace, and may the blessings of the Lord rest upon our community. And we give you all the praise and thanksgiving. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Roll call, Ms. Qualls. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Just sing the all over.
Fill it out. Mayor Williams,
Here.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Here.
Councilmember Cagle,
Here.
Councilmember Helton, Councilmember Witt. Here. City Manager Dorsey,
Here.
City Attorney Litchford.
Here. Thank you. We're getting all shuffled up tonight in our process in our seats. All right. I would like to recognize former Mayor Johnson. Thank you for being here this evening. First item underneath the agenda is Employee Milestone Awards for March. This is where we recognize milestones for our employees that have reached certain categories of years served, and we have two that we're honoring, and they will receive a milestone pin, certificate, and a cash check. We have Gary Carpenter of 20 years service to our city, and Jason Daverson 10 years, and we appreciate them for their longevity and service to our city, along with all of our city employees. We appreciate everything they do. They make our city what great city that it is. The next item we have is a donation to the Eastridge Creative Arts for No Shave April from the police department. Yes, sir.
Mayor, council, as y'all may know, twice a year we allow officers to make donations to a selected charity to get the opportunity to grow a beard or keep a beard that they have. This April, we selected Eastridge Creative Arts. 31 officers participated, and we received our largest donation to date of $795.
Wow. Well, is there anyone here for? You don't think so? Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's awesome. The next item is our consent agenda. Assume everyone's had an opportunity to review the minutes for March 24th, 2022 council meeting and the January 2022 financial report. I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Vice Mayor Chauncey and a second by Councilmember Witt. Do you have any discussion, any corrections? I see none. Roll call. Sing the line.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton, Councilmember Witt. Yes. Mayor Williams.
Yes. All right, we'll move to item 5, communications from citizens. This is an opportunity for citizens to come forward and address the council with any questions, concerns, accolades. Each individual will have 5 minutes, and we have a list here. The first we have on the list is Lillian Scott. If you'll come forward, give us your address and your name and your address for the record, please.
My name's Lillian Scott. I live on 1041 South Seminole. I've been an Eastridge resident for the last 35 years. I'm here to discuss about the proposed building of apartment complex at 1023 South Seminole. First, I want to thank y'all for allowing us to have the community meeting last week or two, and thank especially Ms. Witt and Mr. Cagle for showing up and showing their interest in this. The engineers tried to convince us that building this was going to be a good thing to do, and try to convince us that even though it failed a few years ago, that now's a good time. But they used the same studies they used a couple of years ago, so it didn't do much to change my mind, and I can't speak for everybody, but I'm here. I'm going to start off by talking about just basically the rental density in that area. And I'm sure you know that that our overall, the 37412 area code in Chattanooga is the third highest density. And in that area where we live on South Seminole, within a mile radius, you have Vista Ridge Apartments, used to be Bimini. There's 42 units. Ridge Terrace, which is right across from where they're wanting to build this, there's 50 units. There's Ridge Apartments up on Lisa Drive, there's 40 units. I don't know if you can count it or not, but on Westview Drive, there's 49 units. That's not to mention the duplexes and the other multifamily homes in the area. I mean, we are just concentrated in that area with rental properties. Statistics in 2021 in our area that the owner occupied households were 52% and renter occupied are 39%. That's quite a bit higher rental than in the USA in our area. The impact of high amount of rental units is there's many, and there are other people going to address what these would be and how they're going to affect us in this area. But just to say, traffic increased, and if you have a high rental population, rental units, especially apartments, you affect your property values, crime rates. There's all kinds of things. Just want you to kind of get an idea where we are sitting there and what we already have in that area. And then there's several of us here that are going to go with the other issues. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one I have on the list is Marvin Scott.
I'm Marvin Scott. I live at 1041 South Seminole Drive. And I've spoken here before. I'm retired from the FBI. And so a lot of my focus is on crime and or criminal behavior. But before I get into that, I want to apologize in advance for possibly being accusatory, but that's not the intent. It's just to inform, okay? So according to an article posted in the Chattanooga, the newspaper, Radhe Krishna Incorporated contributed $1,600 to County Commission campaign of Mike Chauncey. And I don't know if you are aware of this or not. Members of the community discovered that Radhe Krishna Incorporated has a mailing address of 1015 South Seminole Drive, which is the same address as a Quick Mart, which is the same address as Pragnesh Patel, who wants to have this approved. So under a different name, Pragnesh Patel or his associates contributed to Mr. Chauncey's campaign and could hope to benefit from Mike Chauncey's vote for rezoning the property in question. I request that the city attorney review the Eastridge Municipal Code, Chapter 6, Code of Ethics. Under 603, the disclosure of personal interest by official with a vote says, an official with the responsibility to vote on a measure shall disclose during the meeting at which the vote takes place before the vote, and so it appears in the minutes, any personal interests that affect or would lead a reasonable person to infer that it affects the official's vote on the measure. In addition, the official may recuse himself from voting on the measure. And here again, I want to stress that this is not an accusatory, it's just as a way of informing. I don't know if you were aware of this connection or not. And then also, I would request that the city attorney review Universal Citation Tennessee Code 3916-102. A person commits an offense who offers, confers, or agrees to confer any pecuniary benefit upon a public servant with the intent to influence the public servant's vote, opinion, judgment, exercise of discretion, or any other public action in which the public servant's official capacity. So I'd appreciate if you would make sure that that does or does not apply in both situations, both the municipal code and the Tennessee code. Also, under the Eastridge Municipal Code, Chapter 5, Stormwater Management, it says in section 13-102, it addresses stagnant water. And as people have already addressed in this area, the low-lying area of this property in question, there remains stagnant water all the time. And Mr. City, if he's here, can attest to that if he comes up. In section 13-103, it talks about weeds. Every owner or tenant of property shall periodically cut the grass and other vegetation commonly recognized as weeds on his property. And it shall be unlawful for any person to fail to comply with an order by the city manager or chief of police to cut such vegetation when it reaches a height over 1 foot. There's another section that talks about overgrown and dirty lots. So I think you could probably put this particular property in one or all three of those categories. I don't know who's watching the time for me.
You have a couple minutes.
Okay. Do apartment complexes show an increase in crime? On March 8th, 2022, Dallas PD says apartment complexes are responsible for more than half of the city's most problematic areas when it comes to crime. On a report from Realtor.com, the third highest item that brings down the value of your home is the high concentration of renters, and the drag is rated at 13.8%. So if someone is contemplating putting additional rental property in that area, the likelihood of homeowners, their property value will drop. That's a very good likelihood. And then depending on the concentration of renters in the area, the crime rate could go up. Also, as many of you are aware, I sent this in an email. This is the flood zone for the whole area. And the flood zone for that particular area, the property in question is a 3-foot flood zone. So that's something else to keep in mind. So when they clear cut that area and start paving it and roofing, that water is not going to just stay there as it usually does. It's going to go downhill, and it's going to end up in the property, some of the property areas like Tom's Carpet or the awning place. And today there's standing water right next to the mini storage area. It's just off the road. So
We're getting close to time, sir. If you have anything else, just real brief.
what's that?
If you have anything else, just make it real brief.
All right, that's good enough for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next one we have on the list is Mr. Ed Turner. Give us your name and your address, please, for the record.
Yeah, my name's Ed Turner. Live at 3128 Seminole Crest Lane. Very close to this property. I wanted to just come and take a moment to appeal to you as you look at a zoning change from an office which can hold maybe 10, 12 office spaces basically used during the daytime by professional people in their work environment, and an apartment complex. The problem that we have as residents there with the apartment complex is basically the type of scenario that it would create for us. I know by living on Seminole Crest Lane, I don't know if you know where that is, but there's a rise there on South Seminole. When I pull out from Seminole Crest Lane onto South Seminole every day, I put my life on the line, because as you pull out there, turning left or right, cars are coming over the hill. You can't see them. And all at once they're on you as you start to pull out. The same thing is going to be true with this apartment complex if it were there. Those people are going to dump out multiple cars, lots of cars, onto onto South Seminole, which is very, very busy anyway. And they'll be pulling out also, turning left to go to Ringgold Road, with cars coming over the hill that they can't see until they've started to pull out. And that's a real issue and a problem that we face there. So there are going to be a lot more accidents. There are going to be a lot of other things. But the main thing I want to talk about is the whole thing of an apartment complex, or zoning for an apartment complex. If we change that zoning from office to multifamily residential, it's nice to come and have a presentation, have things up on the wall to say, we're going to build luxury apartments. They're going to have all these things, and they're going to be marvelous, and they're going to rent for $2,000, $2,500 a month. But once you've let that horse out of the stall, you can't control it. Once you would approve to change that zoning from office to the multifamily residential, they can build anything they want on there. They can show you all they want, the luxury apartments, but that's not necessarily what's going to be built. The owner may choose to sell the land once it's zoned because he can make a profit off the land. The owner may choose to build lesser quality apartments or sell to other people who build much lesser quality apartments. I mean, there are just any myriad of things that could happen and that change the whole dynamics if that's changed from office to 72 unit apartments. And again, I want to iterate, it's easy to get up and have a dog and pony show and say, we're going to build these beautiful luxury apartments that people are going to rent for $2,000, $2,500 a month, overlooking Tom's Carpet Warehouse at a vacant brick building and a car wash and a mini storage. It's one thing to say that that's what we're going to have, but what happens when they don't rent them? What happens when people don't pay $2,000, $2,500 a month? All at once now, the owner's got to recoup the money that they've put in, so they're going to have to lower the rates. When they lower the rates, that is a whole different scenario from what they claim are the middle income, dual income families that would rent at the $2,000, $2,500 a month rate. So all I would like to do is appeal to you before you look at making this zoning change that opens the door to any number of things that can be put in there. And I would like to point out in the demonstration that they were kind enough to do for us a couple of weeks ago, they had all the flashy things with what that was going to look like and all the things. And then clearly on several of them, it said gated complex. And a question was asked about, where's the gate going to be? Is it going to be right there on Seminole or where? And the response was, I'm not aware that there's going to be gates. If they're not aware it's going to be gates and they're showing you they're going to build a luxury apartment complex that's a gated community, what else are they not telling you? So before we fall over ourselves and say, man, this would be really great to have luxury apartment complexes in Eastridge, keep in mind that there's nothing that, as far as I know, there's nothing you can do or we can do as residents and citizens of that area that would stop that from being anything that's multi-residential units. Any quality, any level, any whatever. So I just urge you to think about that as a homeowner and a resident. If that's what you would like with a vacant piece of property by your land, is something that could be changed to be zoned multifamily residences, and you have then no control over what quality or what level gets put on there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. The next we have on the list is John Builderback. Is that correct? Yes, sir. If you'll give us your name and address for the record.
John Builderback, 1045 South Seminole Drive. I'm about 3/10 of a mile from the intersection at Ringgold Road, South Seminole Drive. So I put this together mostly as a little bit of additional information for the body, for our decision makers. I know that this is not easy. First of all, the first question is, what's the need here? Is this a benefit to the community for Eastridge? I'm sure in terms of the tax coffers, yeah, there's probably some benefit there. What it is not is in terms of looking at density. You know, the density of the area that we're talking about, there's plenty of people living there. There are other areas of Eastridge where density could be improved. Quite frankly, a lot of areas of Hamilton County would kill for the density that Eastridge already has. So additional apartments don't necessarily mean a greater quality of life for the people who live in the area. When you get to page 3, a little bit of the history, I think everybody here has been well informed of the history. It was supposed to be 80 complexes in the past. This body denied that, and I think rightfully so. The comments that the RPA made, I thought were a little more telling. These are quoting word for word with what they've said. They said that there should be restricted access to Ringgold Road. Now, there is a plan to have an emergency exit dumping out onto Ringgold Road. I'll get to that in a little bit. And also limiting the number of units. Now, 72 units, 80 units, those numbers are a far cry from what the RPA, back when it used to actually make recommendations to bodies such as this, from the 10 units that they recommended. 10 houses might fit on that area. I don't know. That's not my area of expertise. But I do think that 70 reflects more about what the owners hope to get out of the space than what the actual community in that area needs. If you look at page 4, what I've done is I've actually gone on to the 2050 planning website for the Regional Planning Agency, looking at the transportation plan, and pulled up the traffic accident counts between 2015 and 2019. There were around 38 accidents in that area. That intersection is not quite as bad as some of the others in Eastridge, particularly when you get closer to the interstate, but it is pretty dangerous when you look at Old Ringgold Road, the apartment complex that's there. In fact, I think you'll be able to see a little cluster there right before you get to that intersection of South Seminole and Ringgold Road. There were roughly 4 serious accidents that probably caused injuries, and 1 with bicycles. There's no real pedestrian infrastructure. There's no sidewalks currently or crosswalks, though there are a lot of people that walk in that area. There are sidewalks, obviously, in the tunnels, which I think are obvious, but that in and of itself creates a dangerous space for those of us living in the area. When you look at the tunnels and the exit on page 5, these are the 24-hour traffic counts. We all know that the peak hours are what we kind of complain about when we're trying to get to work and trying to get home. But I think that it's important to look at things in a little bit more holistically. The tunnels have about 18,000 cars going through them a day. When you look at eastbound, that would be coming straight into this proposed emergency exit, there were roughly 9,312 cars counted on that day. Yes, that's one day in time. So what I did is I went and looked at what's the average for the single day 24-hour counts, and they came in around 9,645 cars that were coming just out of the eastbound exit of the tunnels. The RPA clearly is recommending against putting an exit or any kind of access there based on their language. And that exit is only 200 feet from the exit of the tunnel. All right. On page 5, looking at South Seminole Drive, similar numbers, same kind of layout, roughly about 7,000 to 8,000 cars a day travel up and down that road. If you look at the average between 2008 and 2020, 7,600 cars. All right. So you're talking about adding 138 spots. That's potentially 138 cars coming out of that area, only coming out of one entrance and exit. They're going to have them queued for 20 cars. It's going to make it very difficult on the people that would potentially live there in terms of even getting in and out of this complex. The other thing that I would point out is that there is a right turn lane coming out of the tunnels going towards South Seminole. It's pretty blind. I think y'all have probably gone up and down through the tunnels. The semis are a problem. So I'm going to kind of summarize here. There's no real need to try and increase the density in that particular census tract. It ranks 11 out of the 85 populated census tracts in all of Hamilton County. It's the 11th most densely populated one. The RPA and this council has already denied this project before. Safety and pedestrians, if you're increasing the number of cars coming in and out of there, you're going to increase the odds of serious accidents occurring, particularly with no sidewalks on South Seminole Drive. I do think that Ringgold Road access should be stricken and taken out. I don't, the entire property, I think probably would be better served as R1. I know that y'all, that's not on the question for today, but definitely not R3 rental, not with 70 apartments. I'm not against renters. Some people here are, I'm not. 10 units, 15 units is far more reasonable than 72, particularly for that space. And I think that speaks to potentially real estate speculation. And, I think some other folks here have stated that once you take away some of these protections, this is the last part that any of the people here have to try and protect our neighborhood from a massive change that is totally out of our hands. And then we'll be mostly out of your all's hands until somebody wants to come back and do that.
I hate to interrupt, but
Sure.
we're at our 5 minute.
That's fine. Any questions?
And I want to state that we had a public hearing prior to when this originally occurred, and then we could have allowed more talk at that point, but now we're in citizen communication, so I'm limited to 5 minutes per citizen. So,
All right. No questions? Thank you.
thank you, sir. The next we have on the list, I'm sorry, I'm struggling to read the name. Janjay. Yes, if you'll come forward, provide your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Sanjay Naik. I live on 32 Seminole Crest Lane next to Bob Johnson. And the issue I have, although I'm Indian, I've been there since 1984. And when he told me he was going to, he bought the land behind it, I told him, do not build on it. My dad, we used to have a motel down on the highway across from Harley Davidson. He had it built. Right behind it, we had open land that we couldn't do anything on because the city said because of the runoff when the rain goes over there. So we couldn't do anything with it. It was a 64-room motel, just straight out. And what I'm thinking about this property, whenever it was planned out from the beginning, it was supposed to be like a runoff or from the thing to the whole water. Otherwise, all the businesses from the beginning would encounter lots of flooding, or the streets be flooded out all the time. So, that's why I think about it. I think it should be a no.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
That is all that we had that actually signed up, but is there anyone else that in the audience that would like to come forward at this time? Let's see Mr. City's hand first, then we'll get Mr. Tyler.
I must have signed the wrong sheet, but I did sign in.
Oh, was there hang on, there's a second page probably. There was a second page.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
can I go ahead while I'm up here?
Go ahead. You're out. I got it out of order, but go ahead and then I'll jump back to the
Okay,
next person.
I'm
My
gonna
bad.
be I'm gonna be brief, guys. I'm gonna be brief. My biggest concern is the stormwater runoff. And just recently, we had a pretty good rain. And I went up there and I walked the property. The contractor that did this back whenever in the 80s, 70s, whenever, he knew what he was doing. He dug that out. He formed a pond like, and then a bank all behind the businesses. The water runs south. It runs down to two houses down here on the left, south, and runs down their driveway and then behind the convenience store and my building. And that's where the water is, but it was about 4 to 6 inches deep in the majority of the area that I walked. And it sits there and it absorbs into the ground, evaporates. And then when we have a big one, that's when it runs down the street to the collection there. But in the plan view that they gave us, it shows my building. I put an addition onto my building 10 years ago. It's not on there. And it don't have it that close to the property line there. And I'd like to ask the city attorney a question. If the council votes this in, and I have a wall collapse onto my building, who's responsible? Who's liable?
Those all have variable factors that would be considered. Your hypothesis assumes that all the water would be additional water storm runoff from the development. There would be an evaluation that I wouldn't decide it. That'd be something you have to get experts to determine what the water was created. Was there an excess of it as a result of the development? I couldn't answer that.
Well, I feel like everyone would be liable. The city, the engineering firm, the owner, and everybody. And this is my big concern. And it's very possible it can happen. Very possible. And you've heard seen all the pictures and everything. You guys know everything. So if you vote this in, everyone, you're making a huge mistake for Eastridge. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So apologize, Mr. Tyler. I missed the second page here. So the next we have on the list is Bob Johnson. Yes, sir.
My name is Robert Johnson. Live at 3138 Seminole Crest Lane. If you're familiar with it, it's the first road off to the right when you leave Ringgold Road going south. And I think they've covered everything pretty well. And the biggest thing, of course, actually is depreciation of property around there. Some of the houses are very nice, and a lot of them are worried about the depreciation if you put that in there. Another thing that I want to bring up is Seminole Drive has become the raceway of Eastridge. In the morning, I live, I face it, and I look right at it every day, about 7 to 7:15 to 8:30 or what. They're coming from Georgia, keep from going through Rossville. And then coming home in the afternoons, it's the same thing. And I don't know how you're going to put any more cars coming out of an apartment complex, because well, you got 70 units and that'd be at least 2 cars per unit. But that's a big deal, and it's very dangerous. I know as Turner was talking about being real dangerous. There's been 5 wrecks right in front of my house after you go over a hill. Not only that, you have people walking that street, and one child got killed on it. Y'all may not remember that, but give this a good look, and I think it would be bad news for the people who live around there with their property and if they got children and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next we have is Anastasia. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the. If you'll provide your name and your address for the record.
Hi, my name is Anastasia Zedek. I live at 309 Eastview Drive. My husband and I just celebrated our first year living up there. We lived in the country for several years, and we're hoping this home will be our forever home. We really love that area a lot. The fact that you can just go out for a walk, it's great to meet your neighbors and just be out and about in that area. And the reason I'm here today is just to make a few points. Density of the project, the traffic, and the due diligence of proper notice to the community. Might not have time for the last one, but I'll try. So the density of the project. So I read 70, 72. I'll just go with 70. The average cars per unit is 1.4. So do the math. It's got about 98 vehicles. So just remember that number, 98. 98 additional cars are going to be coming through that Seminole, Old Ringgold, Bachman Tunnel, the roundabout, West Side Drive. And if anybody knows how fun that is around traffic hour, it's already a current nightmare. And I know that because I'm at that intersection daily, sometimes multiple times throughout the day. I'm not efficient with my errands. So I'm throughout that area throughout the day. And what happens is whether there's an accident or for whatever reason, I still never know why one of the lanes get closed in Bachman Tunnel, that traffic spills over up Old Ringgold Road, onto View Drive, onto Crest, and then also onto Shadowland. And what happens is that's created such a problem that now the Missionary Ridge Neighborhood Association has been petitioning to get speed bumps because of the additional traffic problem that is currently up there and the additional litter problem. So that's already an existing issue. And this project is going to increase that issue. And that makes it more difficult just to kind of be out and about, walking around, enjoying the neighborhood. So that's my issue. And just so you know, I'm okay with affordable housing. It's just the density of the project. Something smaller scale would be great. I know in 2006, they came up for that project again, and the city recommended 10. Project was denied. They brought it back in 2018. Project was denied again, and here we are a third time. So I'm fine with the housing, just on a smaller scale that will not have a negative impact on the community, especially the traffic. And the additional issue, if it does hypothetically get proposed, you're already looking at additional variances with the design. I believe already it says 2.5 and the schematics show that it's going to be a lot bigger than that. So there's going to be additional hurdles, additional things that are going to have to get approved. And I think that's going to negatively impact the community landscape to have something substantially large. I'm going quicker than I thought, so I will be able to get to my last part. The due diligence of notice. So I know that, and I might be wrong, so school me if you need to, but I had understood that the state of Tennessee is required, the state requires public notice to be put on the newspaper. In addition to, and I must have missed it, I read the Times digital version, so I might have missed it. I read that daily. So if I missed it, I apologize if that was put in the paper, but I didn't see it in the paper. And I asked my friends that I know, neighbors that I know read that paper, they didn't see it either. That's why they were shocked when I told them about this. Hey, know about it. In addition to that, the planning notice signages, again, frequently travel that area. Can't miss those bright yellow signs. I've only seen those recently, and also the Tennessee zoning process wants a sign on each parcel that's got to be rezoned. There's more than one parcel, so you have to have a sign not only on Seminole, but also on Ringgold. So those two signs that just happened to appear, and granted, I might have missed it, might have been there a long time ago, but I guarantee that's never been on Ringgold, never. So I feel the community hasn't been properly notified. I only heard this by word of mouth on a very small social media app. And I would have attended the prior meeting if I would have known about it. But that's why I'm here. I'm okay for a smaller sizing project, but I think the traffic is just going to negatively impact the community. And we just don't want that additional problem. Let's keep the people happy, because then you're just going to push out the people that have been here for a while and people like myself that want to be here forever. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. All right, that is all that I have on the 2 pages. So now I'll ask if there's anyone else who'd like to come forward.
William Lane, 1025 South Seminole. I just wanted to say, I'll be very brief, say amen to all the traffic concerns and the water concerns. But I particularly have concern for my privacy and property values because I'm right next door to the entrance off South Seminole of this property that they're looking to rezone. And the apartments are behind my property up the hill. So all that water is going to be running down on me, and I'd appreciate it if y'all could deny this. Thank you.
You, sir. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Bostain and I live at 731 Germantown Circle. The reason I'm here tonight is to express my concern about you all as our representatives. This was presented to the Planning Commission 3 years ago and it was voted down at that level. Then it made its way to council as ordinance number 1080. Mr. Cagle made a motion to deny the request, and Ms. Helton, you seconded it. Every single one of you voted against this a mere 3 years ago. About a month ago, you asked the developers what has changed. Myself, and I feel like the rest of the citizens want to say to you all, if you're prepared to flip-flop on your vote, qualify your vote and explain to us what has changed in your mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
David Tyler, 4701 Fountain Avenue. I just recently graduated the Eastridge Citizens Police Academy. I just wanted to commend the Chief Allen and Assistant Chief Usselton for putting together such a great program. All of the lieutenants and all of the police officers involved in the program really put their heart into it and did a good job. I think the city as an outreach program, I think it's the most amazing thing I've been a part of. Also, as a member of the board of directors for the Eastridge Community Food Pantry, I'd like to thank everybody's participation on the board. I know Councilman Witt was there, saw Vice Mayor Chauncey and Mayor Williams as well. Just once again, thank you for your involvement in that program. Once again, I really enjoyed the Citizens Police Academy. And I urge all citizens in the city to sign up. I know they've got 4 people signed up so far. The class will fill up pretty quickly. I just, once again, can't plug it enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward? I'm sorry. You've already came. I apologize. Yes.
Edgar Sean, 1034 South Seminole Drive. I will be the briefest you've heard tonight. I am opposed to this project, and my neighbors have expressed very good reasons for being opposed to that project. What I simply want to do is indicate what I take to be the overwhelming sentiment of my neighborhood, my community against this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward? All right, I see no one else. So we will move to communications from council members. I'll start on this side. Councilmember Witt.
I just want to say a little bit more to what Mr. Tyler said. We got 365 pounds of food on Saturday, $2,075. And we want to thank each and every person that came and supported that Fill a Cruiser. We will have another one in Thanksgiving. If you missed it, put it on your calendar. It's usually the Saturday before. We'd love to see you out there. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Councilmember Hilton.
Nothing at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Johnson. Councilman Cagle. All right. Few things I'd like to cover. If you wasn't able to attend, you missed a huge event. The Chattanooga Cruise In was April the 2nd. There were thousands and thousands of awesome cars and a lot of turnout that filled Camp Jordan. It was a great event. Glad to have that back. That was on April the 2nd. Then the following weekend, we had Bugapalooza, and that was Saturday and Sunday, and it was also another great event. And excited to have them back as well to Camp Jordan. We talked about the Fill a Cruiser. That was an amazing event that we had on April the 9th and raised a lot of money and a lot of canned goods for our food pantry. So thanks for everyone that worked that, participated, and donated. Couple things I wanted to mention coming up. Swing into Spring event. I mentioned it last council meeting. That is Saturday, April the 16th. That is from 10 to 2:30. That is at the McDonald Farm Park. They say bring your bag chairs, picnic lunch out, and fun-filled day for all ages. They're going to have a vintage baseball game. There's going to be music, face painting, inflatables, cornhole, petting zoo. So I've been asked to mention that. So if anyone wants to go and participate in that, that would be a great event. Also, I wanted to mention that Thrillville, we're excited to have Thrillville. They're coming to Camp Jordan. That is going to be Thursday, April the 28th through Sunday, May the 8th. That's going to be carnival rides. It's going to be an upscale carnival. They've been in places like Atlanta Motor Speedway, Hank Aaron Stadium in Mobile, Alabama, Memorial Stadium in Baton Rouge. They've also been the Kansas City State Fair in San Jose, California, and Nashville. So this is going to be a fun time for the family and a great event. Also, I wanted to mention that Saturday the 30th, Kids and Pros will be in Camp Jordan. That is from 12 to 4. They're celebrating their 12th year in the Chattanooga area. And this year, UTC coaches will also be joining them again. They'll be playing football teaches athletes more skills and coordination and life lessons. So it's an event for kids 7 to 13 years old. Come and meet some former NFL and all-pro players and college players. And then the admission for that is free to attend that. I believe that's all that I have on mine. So I will now pass it over to City Manager Dorsey.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple other things. On April 2nd, we had basically the grand opening of our playground over at Pioneer Frontier. We had a good turnout there. I want to appreciate those that came for the grand opening, especially is it called the Citizens Neighborhood Park Committee? What was the name of that committee? I apologize. Of the people that were there in the past that helped review the original playground and all that.
I don't recall.
I don't recall the official. It was just
okay. Thank you. It was good to see some of them there and talking about some of the old times and the way that the original park was set up and planned out. It was kind of interesting to hear some of that. So we're glad that the playground's open. We've also had a soft opening of the dog park as well. Right now, we just have the benches in there and, of course, the fencing. The equipment is still on order and will be coming in sometime late May or in June. So the dog park's not finished, but we went ahead and decided to go ahead and get it open so that people can start using it and exercising their canines in there right now. But we are still waiting for the rest of equipment to come in from that grant to be able to get that done. Also, one last thing, I spoke to the mayor about this earlier. We're starting to have a couple issues with some of the kids at the playground with some unruly behavior and things of that nature. We had this sort of issue back when we had the old playground. And I've spoken with our police chief about this as well. And we are going to start working on having more of an increased police presence there, especially right after the school hours when there's kids that are hanging around there waiting to be picked up and things of that nature. So we do have that on our radar. We are trying to keep aware of what's going on in that area. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Attorney Lishford, did you have comment?
Yeah, I think even Mr. Chauncey wanted to make sure there'd be any disclosures. There was, Mr. Scott, you raised, just campaign donations. Is there a conflict? And Tennessee law Title 8 addresses what the conflict of interest would be, and it's Tennessee state law doesn't define exactly what a conflict with respect to donations. It has a list of what it considers to be. Donations are not one of those. In 2018, we had an item come up where a claim on a conflict of interest with respect to campaign contributions to the former mayor, and the city hired an independent outside attorney. That opinion came back and was founded upon by the Attorney General as well as to prior opinions that by virtue of a contribution, that alone is not a conflict of interest. If there's a pecuniary where there's a direct, financial gain, something they would show on a tax return, but in this case, and I looked it up, it would have been a campaign contribution to the committee to vote Mr. Chauncey. That's not something Mr. Chauncey, it'd go to the treasurer. He wouldn't have those finances. And really it comes out to, if that's the case, then anyone that ever received a contribution would never be permitted to vote on something. But if there's something more, I think Mr. Chauncey could, if you asked him, do you have any pecuniary benefit or any dealings with the developer? I assume the answer is well.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything was done in the light of day. There was nothing promised, and answer your question.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll move to item 8A, ordinance number 1160.
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee, to amend the zoning regulations and the zoning map of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee, so as to rezone the properties located at 1023 South Seminole Drive, currently zoned R1 Residential District, and an unaddressed property in the 3000 block of Ringgold Road, currently zoned to O1 Office District and C2 General Commercial District, tax map number 156N-F-015.02 to R3 Apartment District.
And this would be the first reading. This was tabled on March 10th and then again on March the 24th. So I will entertain a motion for ordinance number 1160.
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 1160.
We need to bring it off the table.
Oh, that's
So
right. Entertain a motion to remove it from the table. No, thank you for keeping us.
I make a
You make a
motion
motion to move it from the
yeah,
table?
move it from the table.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
To have a motion to remove from table by Councilmember Whit and a second by Vice Mayor Chauncey. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton, Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. All right, now it's removed from the table. So I will entertain a motion for 1160.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 1160.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Whit and a second by Vice Mayor Chauncey. Do we have any discussion?
Yes, sir. I showed up at the meeting the other night. It was a pretty good meeting, but I'm like some of the citizens. I left there more confused because we never got an answer about what was going to be done about this, what was going to be done about this. And there was one statement made about traffic. And I'm curious about when the traffic study that he was requiring about the other night, was that done this time or was that done the last time? And his statement was the amount of cars there during rush time was not going to put out but 20 cars more in the morning during rush time. That's just kind of hard to believe, folks, with 140 cars that I'm estimating that's going to be there. And so that's just hard to believe. And the water runoff, there was nothing mentioned except the fact that when we rezone this, or if we rezone this tonight, just like one of the gentlemen's made there, they have to go back to the county, show their water runoff situation, and they have to get an improvement there. Well, if it gets approved or turned down, just like they said, when they come back here, they don't have to build what they're telling us they are building. So
I just sat there the other night and I didn't say nothing, which was hard for me to do. But anyway, well, that's my statement about the meeting the other night.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Kenny Custer, Ace Engineering, 714 Cherry Street.
Stephen Meyer, TWM Engineering, 8802 Oak Valley Lane, Chattanooga.
Well, Steve's our traffic engineer. Most of you have met in the past and done multiple traffic studies within the city. I'll let him speak to that in just a moment, but I just want to try to clear up some of the stuff. I was unable to attend that meeting
And just to clarify, you're here and
as a representative of the client.
thank you. No, sir, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This, anyways, so there's a lot of things that's been discussed. At the end of the day, this is a basic rezoning. Rezoning does not guarantee that we get a building permit. If we can't meet the complaints, the concerns, the issues, or even the engineering feats that have to be overcome on this property, we don't get a building permit. We can't build. But what I can build today, I can build about 200,000 square foot of office. I could potentially come back and petition for a higher density residential rezoning for somewhere around 70 units. It's 175,000 square feet. Even if you did, you could do 17 if you just did standard single family. So there's a lot of other options that we could do. But for years, as you all have set up on that dais, as I've been a part of this community, the West End, what are we going to do? How are we going to drive traffic? How are we going to make things happen? Food City was enormous. That new opening that or getting that open when it does and move, this just gives us another opportunity. I'm not saying that I can change anybody's mind. And I understand the emotion that goes along with rezonings. I've done it for years, been on both sides of it. And it doesn't always come out the way that you hope. Sometimes you get a zoning approval and it turns into a great opportunity. Sometimes it's denied and you continue to come back and revisit. But just because it was denied a few years ago could be for totally separate reasons. Could be different council members, different thought processes, different developers, different engineering firms. There's a number of things that factor into that. But at the end of the day, the water issues that a lot of the individuals are having are not necessarily on our property. And if we can't correct those water issues within our property, then we can't build the project because our engineers can't stamp that. And that's from the traffic standpoint. If Steve's going to put his name on a document of any document to say how the traffic is going to work or not work, and he understands the timing of these traffic lights better than anybody because Steve, didn't you pretty much design them?
I did design.
So he does understand exactly how that works. And I'm not discredit. I believe everybody out here has valid concerns. That's the community that they live in day in and day out. And I 100% respect that. This is the community I grew up in and have been around this community my entire life. I really think this is a viable project. Just recently, the new housing study come out. If y'all had the opportunity to read that, the median housing, Eastridge is exceeding the entire county by 3% for median income housing, which is something that we haven't seen in a long time. I heard that recently, the most recent study had non-owner occupants down to about 35%, where just a few years ago, I can remember speaking about that. We were 49% non-owner occupied. So there is some good things happening. But even with that income increase, that median, or not the median income, but the median rate for property of us being at 3% higher than the rest of the county, you still have some of these other properties that everybody's referencing that are still there today, but those still continue to rise. And I know it's a different time. We're in a different time. We're in a new market. Things are changing. But in order to establish the West End, I think this is a start in the right direction. And we've all been challenged on projects before. We've been challenged on Exit 1. We've been challenged on bringing a soccer team next to Lansdale Park. We've been challenged on a number of projects that's come to fruition. Hopefully we get the support for this, but if not, then we will circle back around and see what we can do to make it happen. But if you have any questions on traffic related issues, you can do that. And if there's anything that needs to be added to this zoning ordinance to protect the citizens, as is fencing, other things that need to be added, we don't have any problem with putting that in there. So it's actually documented and in writing.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Do you have any questions, council? See none. All right, we have a motion and a second for approval. Roll call.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
No.
Councilmember Helton, Councilmember Witt. Yes. Mayor Williams.
No. Ordinance number 1160 fell. We'll move to item 9A, ordinance number 1164.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Eastridge to amend Title VII, Eastridge City Code, Chapter 2, Fire Code to delete Section 308.1.4 of the 2018 edition of the International Fire Code, previously adopted by ordinance number 1094 and replaced with new language.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mayor and Council, as I explained in my agenda memo, this was one of the sections that we looked at amending originally when we adopted the new edition of the code. However, traditionally, we've been able to minimize the risk through, public education and inspections as it pertains to apartment complexes with open flame cooking devices on balconies. Recently, that's not been so much the case, and as the code reads currently, we don't have any enforcement powers to minimize that risk. So the Chief Williams and I have proposed the language to replace that, where they will not be stored or operated on balconies or within 10 foot of a combustible construction.
Thanks, sir. I'll entertain a motion for ordinance number 1164.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 1164.
A motion to approve by Councilmember Cagle and a second by Councilmember Hilton. Do we have any discussion? See none, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton, Councilmember Witt. Yes. Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to item B, ordinance number 1165.
An ordinance to amend Title 8, Section 8317 of the Eastridge Municipal Code to update the certificate of compliance restrictions related to the construction of a retail package liquor store.
Thank you, Mayor. As you all know, we have 2 liquor stores that are being built right now in the Eastridge city limits. And due to delays such as labor, supply shortages from COVID and things of that nature, it's increased the amount of time that they've needed for completion. They've come before council and shown you all the facades they're going to use and given you updates at that point of where they stood in their construction process. They each had an extension granted in November and in February. However, the last extension would end in May. One of them is planning on opening sometime in May. The other may be a month or 2 longer. But just because of these other unforeseen issues, we put together an amendment to Title 8, Section 317-2 that would add 2 additional 3-month extensions if they're both needed to complete the construction of the liquor stores.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for ordinance number 1165.
Second.
A motion is approved by Vice Mayor Chauncey and a second by Councilmember Witt. Do we have any discussion? I see none. Roll call.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton, Councilmember Witt. Yes. Mayor Williams.
Yes. Ordinance 1165 passed first reading. We'll move to item C, ordinance number 1166.
An ordinance to submit in referendum to the people of Eastridge, Tennessee, the question of amending the charter of the City of Eastridge by amending Section 6-B1 of the charter. Members of the council, Mayor, this is an item that would be placed on the August referendum. This really cleans up. This has been the judge position has been one that needed to be cleaned up. It partially got cleaned up about 2 years ago. There was still a provision in there that didn't get changed, that it was changed 2 years ago that to make it a countywide residency requirement. And that is a qualification requirement that they be a Hamilton County resident. Later on in that same section, there's a provision that says and remain a resident of, and it still says city. MTS took a look at that and said that they can't change that second part, that it would have to also be changed by referendum. So just because it got voted 2 years ago, they're saying, just clean it up is what they're saying. It's just an error that needs it. And then there's a provision in there about holding other elected offices. The judicial canons that are promulgated by the state of Tennessee Judicial Advisory talks about multiple elected, non-judicial elected positions. And so when you look at the text of the charter, likely the intent was to make it consistent with the canons that were espoused by the Tennessee Judicial Advisory Committee. And so this would just clean up that to identify that it would only prohibit judges from holding other non-judicial elected offices. And so that's going to be what's up for, if it's approved, then it would be up for the election in August.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for ordinance number 1166. So we have a motion approved by Councilmember Helton and a second by Vice Mayor Chauncey. Do we have any discussion?
Well, I just need to get a clarification on this. So we're going to put on a ballot that the judge cannot run and be elected as a state representative, but he can run and be elected as another judge and hold two judgeships. That's what's on.
That would allow, it would clarify, yeah.
Okay.
And that's, I should, maybe, the judicial canons allow that, where they say that the delineation is between judicial and non-judicial, but you could hold multiple judicial positions.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? I see none. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Ordinance number 1166 passed first reading. We'll move to item D, resolution 3253.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee, approving the appointment by Vice Mayor Chauncey to the Eastridge Board of Zoning Appeals.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm going
Vice
to
Mayor.
reappoint Eric Zitzo to the zoning appeals board.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for resolution number 3253 with Eric Zitzos.
I make a motion to approve resolution 3253.
A motion to approve by Councilmember Witt and a second by Councilmember Helton. Do you have any discussion? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. We'll move to item E, resolution 3254.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee, approving the appointment by Councilmember Cagle to the Eastridge Board of Zoning Appeals.
Yes, sir.
I would like to reappoint Mr. Mac Penley.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for resolution 3254 for the appointment of Mac Penley.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion approved by Vice Mayor Chauncey and a second by Councilmember Hilton. Do we have any discussion? See none. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. We'll move to item F, public hearing for resolution 3255.
This would be for the approval of a sign variance request at 6801 Ringgold Road. Specifically, let's read the resolution.
Yes, please.
This would be a resolution of City Council for the City of Eastridge to approve a variance to the city sign ordinance number 1028 to allow a reduction in the front setback of a proposed monument sign on property located at 6801 Ringgold Road, tax map number 170J-B-043.
Thank you, sir. We will open up this public hearing for resolution number 3255. Is there anyone representing the property owner? Yes, if you'd like to come forward and discuss your request?
I'm Zach McManus. I represent the ownership group. Thank you for hearing me today.
And you're with?
Dynamic Group.
Thank you, sir.
The primary reason that we need this variance is because of topography. When you're coming south, you're coming north from Ringgold Road, coming into town from Georgia. There's quite a large hill there coming down our property side. And it's very difficult to see where the sign would be placed with the given setback. We already have a 15-foot setback established by the city just because of the right of way that's there. So we'll be 15 feet from that main road to begin with. An additional setback would put us pretty far behind the hill that you see when you're coming into town. Our property is not situated along those frontages either. It's served from an access road. You have to go pretty far up the hill and it's tucked back in there against the Park Ridge Apartments. So we really need some visibility for our guests coming into town to be able to see that sign, to identify the property and get into the property without, putting more traffic going into town, going through that intersection with Frawley Road, getting turned around. So we request this variance space primarily for topography.
Thank you, sir. Also in the public hearing, I will if there's anyone that is in favor of or in opposition, it's your opportunity to come forward and address the council. I see no one, so I will close this public hearing and we'll move to item G, which is a resolution for 3255.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee, to approve a variance to the city sign ordinance number 1028 to allow a reduction in the front setback of a proposed monument sign on property located at 6801 Ringgold Road, tax map number 170J-B-043.
Thank you. Mr. Howell, are you going to come discuss or city manager?
So just a little bit of clarification on that. So TDOT has extremely wide right of way there. It's roughly about 25 feet. I gave you guys a real primitive drawing in your packet that shows basically, I measured off that there are stakes out there showing where the signs proposals at. I measured off that to the backside of the sidewalk. It's roughly 25 feet. With the current sign size of 49 square feet, when our sign ordinance, it would take the proposed monument sign and push another 15 feet back. So you're looking at quite a distance to viewing this sign being pushed so far back. So that would reduce the setbacks to 0 feet. Plus you'll still have the 25 feet of right of way from TDOT. So as you pull out of the proposed Town Place Inn and Suites, there would be no site visibility reduction on that. And it would be 9 feet from the curb, the drive-in entrance as well. That's stated on the primitive drawing.
All right. Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for resolution 3255.
Motion to approve resolution 3255.
A motion to approve by Councilmember Cagle and second by Councilmember Hilton. Do we have any discussion? See none. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton, Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes, resolution 3255 passed.
I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for their time.
Thank you. We'll move to item H, resolution 3256.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee, authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute a contract with HHM Certified Public Accountants for auditing services as requested by the state of Tennessee and other regulatory agencies.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll let Ms. Qualls talk about this, please.
It's that time again. Seems like I just get done and we have to get ready again. State law requires that we go ahead and get our contracted to the state. I believe in the memo, I don't have a copy in front of me. They went up $2,000 from last year. They now have to audit 10 funds. And if we have a lot of funds. And so we have a good working relationship with them. And if they have to do a single audit, which is required by the federal government pertaining to how much money we get in grants, then that would be an additional $5,000. But you don't know about a single audit until they get here and start looking at the books. I would approve so we can get started.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll entertain a motion for resolution 3256.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion to approve by Vice Mayor Chauncey and a second by Councilmember Whit. Do we have any discussion?
One question.
Yes, sir.
Did we have an increase last year?
I don't think so. I would have to actually go back and look. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Resolution 3256 pass. We'll move to item I, Resolution 3257.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee, amending the rules and regulations for a tent lottery.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, as you know, 2 years ago, the Hamilton County Election Commission moved all of the voting precincts within Eastridge down to the Camp Jordan Arena. And part of that dealt with COVID and other issues. They were able to get an exemption for that. We thought they might be keeping everything down there, but we have since found out that they are putting them back into their original positions where they were before 2020. So that means 2 of the precincts will be back at the community center. As you know, 2 years ago, we amended the tent lottery resolution to take into account that we would be having the voting down at the arena. This basically brings everything back to the community center. The resolution amends the tent lottery rules to that effect. Some of the changes we made in the tent lottery resolution we've kept, such as 1 person per candidate can be there at the lottery and things of that nature. If you remember, we talked about that before. So basically it's pretty much the same as what we had 2 years ago, but there's been a couple, changes dealing with the location and the map references, obviously. And the map that is in there is the exact same one that the council had approved before the move to 2020 to Camp Jordan Arena.
I don't see a map in the book. Does anyone have a map?
No, I won't hear either.
No, sir, there's not a map in the book, but you said it's the same as it was.
And it's the exact, we just took the exact same map from 2018, and that's the map that's going to be used.
All right.
And the map, I don't think is actually in the rules of the lot of the thing. It just references the fact that we will have a drawing dealing with it. And so that's, the map will be at that point, that will be where the candidates would pick their spot.
Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion for resolution 3257.
I make a motion to approve resolution 3257.
A motion to approve by Councilmember Witt and a second by Councilmember Helton. Do we have any discussion? I see none. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton, Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Resolution 3257 passed. We'll move to item J, resolution 3258.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee, authorizing city managers to designate to purchase 1 Tiger 50-inch flat flail head attachment from Chattanooga Tractor and Equipment to the Tennessee Department of General Services statewide contract listing SWC-246 pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated 12-3-1201B.
Mr. Vaughn.
Vaughn, Chris Vaughn, Street Department Supervisor, Mayor, Council. The one I'm needing to replace is on our boom mower, flail mower. It's 13 years old now. It's rusted out, been over probably 80% of the deck. It's unreplaceable because we've been band-aiding it for the last probably 4 or 5 years. So I'm kind of at the point now that I'm gonna have to, we need to purchase one.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion for resolution 3258.
Motion to approve resolution 3258.
Second.
A motion approved by Councilmember Cagle and a second by Vice Mayor Chauncey. Do we have any discussion? Yes,
Is it
sir.
in stock?
3 to 4 weeks.
Weeks, okay,
That's
before-
as of Monday.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 3258 pass. We'll move to item K, resolution 3259.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee, authorizing the city to proceed with negotiations with BP Construction based upon the submitted proposal to revitalize the adjacent properties located at 4214 Ringgold Road and 1501 Tombras Avenue.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we talked before, we did a request for proposals for the properties where the McBrien School is and where the police department and fire department offices are as well. The proposals went through February 24th. The loan submitted was BP Construction, and their proposal should be included with your agenda notebook. Now, they have proposed to redevelop approximately the 8-acre property of the, as I said, of the former McBrien School as a mixed-use development. The booklet presentation outlines various possibilities for the land, all of which call for removal of the existing structures. You get a chance, hopefully you all have had a chance to read through the booklet. This is just a request for proposal at this point. I'm not sure, and I apologize because I can't see if anybody is there from BP Construction, Mayor, that may want to be able to come up and speak for a few minutes on this as well. But all we're doing today is recommending the approval of the proposal so we can continue to negotiate with the developer and see if we can come together on agreement to revitalize this property.
Thanks, sir. Yes, we have someone here. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, Mayor, Council. My name is Jim Cheney. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for BP Construction. Barry Payne, the owner, and Jeff Garner, who's our President of Commercial Construction, is here with us as well. We think the RFP pretty much speaks for itself. We really put a lot of thought into a mixed-use component to what we're doing here. The drawings that you see in there are very much conceptual at this time. We tried to give enough flexibility in that as we work through the process with the city manager and with the administrative staff that that we can have feedback and really look at some different options. Right now, everything is a for sale product and commercial components with some infrastructure improvements as well. We've taken into consideration parking allocations, tax base, and some different things like that. So all of that is in the RFP, and we're happy to answer any questions if you have that at this time.
I'll entertain a motion for resolution 3259.
Motion to approve resolution 3259.
A motion approved by Vice Mayor Chauncey, and we have a second by Councilmember Hilton. Any discussion?
This purchase price firm.
Nothing in here is firm. This is all a proposal
Yes.
for us to begin negotiations and to talk with the developer about possibilities, where we may want to go with this and that sort of thing. So nothing in there is firm at all.
This is just allowing the procedure to move forward with discussions, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Do you have any other discussion? The one thing that I'll add, and I think I've actually conveyed this to everyone before, I'd like to see a little more community opening, kind of like we talked about with for community events. These three proposals, they show mixed use, they show commercial, but me personally would like to see an area to complement the playground, complement the splash pad, community center, and have a place that our community can collectively come for an event, similar to what I think you have at
Cambridge Square.
Cambridge Square. Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. So that's my input. I like a lot of the ideas here. Beautiful renderings. I'm comfortable with everything that you've done in other locations. I just would like not to lose that aspect of this still being kind of a town center and having an area for that.
Yes, well,
my
we
opinion.
recognize that there are uses that are in existence now that are very community centric. So we would certainly want to retain that. If you've been to any of the other developments that we've worked on, community relations is a very significant part of what we do in
Mhm.
terms of engagement. So if we're approved to continue moving forward with negotiation, we would certainly be open to discussions about things of, nature of open space and community involvement and people's, ideas and concepts on what they would like to see. So we would certainly be open to hearing that and discussing it.
Thank you, sir.
Have something. I noticed that you mentioned senior living.
Yes, ma'am.
And we have a great community senior center over here.
Yes, ma'am.
And me being a senior, what type of senior things were you talking about? Or is it something that you're looking at putting here, or have you got it at your other areas?
We conceptually put some designated for sale product in there for seniors, which has a mixture, I believe, of kind of a townhome product and also a single story product. We haven't gotten very far in terms of architectural design, but we recognize that there is a need for a senior residential component here. And so that was one of the concepts that we felt like we could create density and also some design elements that they would have walkability to the park and the dog park and things of that nature. And so, yes, we've allowed for that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? See none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Proposal. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Chauncey,
Yes.
Councilmember Cagle,
Yes.
Councilmember Helton,
Yes.
Councilmember Witt,
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Resolution 3259 passed. We'll move to item L, discussion of the resurfacing projects. I had passed out, and unfortunately, it's not in the book, another copy, but everyone had received a copy of an analysis that was done widespread over the entire city of our roads and the ratings from worse to some of the better. I won't say the best, that's for sure. But so what I would like to do is continue the discussion about council. I'm requesting the council to pledge some funding toward resurfacing, but I'm going to also tweak the, I'm going to throw something on the table for the council for us to discuss and get your thoughts and opinions. This is a resurfacing for individual roads, and it is the length of the road and the width and the millage and everything. In discussing with the engineering firm that helped provide this, we all can agree we have some severe issues with some of our roads, and we've had lack of planning for road resurfacing. So one of the things that I would like to entertain with the council is the potential of doing some, and bear with me when I say spot paving. I'm not talking repairing potholes. I'm talking about repairing entire sections of the road that has deteriorating areas, just because we have a quarter-mile road. The whole quarter mile may not be in severe shape. So if we could spot pave the section that is bad, we could actually then improve more roads, more areas that are, jarring your teeth out when you go across it. So that's something I'd like to ask council if they would be interested in considering that. We could get a bigger bang for the buck for the funding if we allocate, and we've got up to a little over $750,000 that we've actually earmarked for road resurfacing. I'd like to ask that we commit to $500,000 and get some of our roads starting getting in repairing some of our roads. So I'm going to open it up for discussion about spot paving to impact more of the bad areas and just see where we can go with it.
Well, I realize that we have some areas that we really need to work on, but is that going to just patch it and not improve?
It would not be patching. And city manager to jump in anytime you want to. It would actually be digging the road up. It would be putting base in. It would be, you want to add on?
Yeah, it could either be digging up the road and putting in base, or at least milling it down and putting in a fresh coat of asphalt. It could be for a block. It could be for 2 blocks. just depending on where the deficiencies are in the road bed as we go forward.
Yeah, this is not a patching. This is not throwing some
No,
cold
no.
patch in a hole.
Mhm.
Absolutely not.
There'll be whole sections of roadway.
As long as we're just not going in and patching.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, sir.
the contractor that we hire to do this, is it not going to cost us more by him having to move his equipment to these so-called spot patches or repairs?
Brings up another great question, because I failed to mention that. We need to possibly group these in areas. So to your point, and I had that on my notes and I didn't cover it. So we're not running all over the city from one area to the other. So we can also save in mob and demob and things like that as well. So this would be, we'd have to do request bids, correct?
We would still take this out for bids. But
Yes.
right now, as you just said, Mayor, we have to see exactly where these spot sections of roadway would be, and we would try to coordinate as best as possible to reduce the amount of mobilization costs.
So we would go back to the engineers and look at that because this was just the worst roads ranking. So now we go back with grouping these in areas and/or our potential of doing spot paving so we can get a more bang for a buck. We can go back and we can then have them present that possibly even at the next council meeting. Because I've discussed that with them, and they can have a plan and an idea of how we can do this exact scenario. And then we can move forward with getting it bidded out. Anything to add?
No, you pretty much covered it. We're hoping that the spot paving plan can work, and we'll know more when we hear from the engineers. But that's just a great idea to be able to get, like you said, more bang for our dollars.
Well, for instance, like down here on Commerce Avenue, where the city went down there, where the sewer line goes right down the middle of the road, where they spot patch just right over that. So if we're going to start digging out and putting base in, and then we get into a problem with the sewer line, is WWTA going to come in and help us, or are we on our own? Is there a problem in the center of the road with their sewer lines leaking and washing their fill out?
That would have to be I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman.
I see, because we've got that all over Eastridge. Some of it's worse than others.
Right. That's one thing if there's a depression in the road just because of the age of the patching of that. But if there's actually a leak in the sewer line, then it'll be up to WWTA to have to come in to make all those repairs before we would repave the road.
So after we get into doing it, then we locate it that it is their problem, that's going to prolong the repairing of the road till WWTA decides to get out here.
Well, and that's something we'll have to look into. Maybe where we have to come back to that road at a later date as phase 2 comes along. Because like you said, we don't want to have to wait 3 or 4 months to have to deal with that one issue. And it's going to be one of those things. There's going to be some unforeseen questions, Councilman, that we'll just have to start muddling through as we go along through the process.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's going to occur everywhere we're going. And I can't iterate enough. And I know that the city manager gets tired of hearing me say, we've got to monitor and oversee our street cuts a lot better than we've done in the past. They're held responsible, not just 1 year, but now extended to 2 years.
2 years.
Responsible. We need to hold them responsible for street cuts that they're done correctly. And then they are come back and we monitor those, that we have them corrected if there is failures.
So how are we monitoring them? Do they notify us when they're cutting the street, or?
They're
They're supposed to notify us, yes. In some cases, and Mr. Howell's still there, he could probably answer this too. In some cases, they don't. If it's an emergency, they go out and do it. Then they're supposed to come back the next day, because in some cases, they just hire a contractor to go out and do the work. So, 30% of the time, we have to find out on our own who did the cut and who did the work. And the good thing is, our citizens are very quick to let us know if there's a hole in the road, or if there's a sloppy fill in, before they get ready to do the final pavement. So that helps us as well to keep track of who the people are.
And to City Manager Dorsey's add on to his comment, sometimes it's not the actual utility itself, it's the contractor. So if you see, and I call all the time, hey, what about this address? Do you have a street cut permit? You know, it's just, they need to do the right thing. If we have an invalid or bad street cut or it's not repaired, guess who's going to pay for it? We are, our citizens. So, from any other discussion? And do I have a direction from the council to proceed with the scenario of grouping these together, maybe looking at, you know, some spot paving? And are they willing at this time to commit to a dollar figure, or you want to see the results from the another analysis first?
Get another analysis on the spot check, you know, the spot paving.
Spot paving,
Yeah,
and then
and
grouping
see.
those?
Right.
Okay.
Are you wanting to obligate $500,000 on top of this 750?
No, sir. I'm saying
Just $500,000.
$500,000 at this point. That leaves us some, because we don't know yet with the fuel prices, and that gives us a buffer of $250,000. But we personally didn't get us in this situation, but it's our responsibility to get us out of this situation with our roads. All right, so we have a recommendation. Do we have?
I'd like to obligate the $500,000
Okay,
with us coming back with a kind of a ballpark figure of grouping in the spot patches, as I'm going to call them, and to see how much we can do for the $500,000.
council?
I'll second.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Mr. Dorsey, you have a direction from the council.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And yes, thanks, council, very much. So we'll move, that's the last item on the agenda. We'll move to item M, which is discussion of the tentative agenda for April 28, 2022. The first item would be a presentation of letter of commendation of 7 firefighters and 2 police officers. Chief Williams, I thought you weren't going to be here.
Mayor and Council, I don't want to elaborate too much on this.
Yes.
I'm going to save it for the next council meeting as much as I can. But what this pertains to is we had an apartment fire a couple of weeks ago, about 1 o'clock in the morning. When we arrived on scene, the fire department, 7 firefighters that were immediately on the scene, and 2 police officers that were dispatched to the scene, made 9 rescues. And they done this by throwing ladders up on balconies from 2nd floor and firemen entering through smoke filled hallways to apartments and gain access to 9 people. So this is outstanding.
Yes.
I mean, this is a very, very proud moment for each individual that was involved in that situation. And I want to give them a letter of commendation for that.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question for Mike. Could you elaborate on going to Sevierville?
Yes, Councilman Cagle. We were dispatched to Wares Valley to assist on a state fire mutual aid. So it's a state call out. We have a tri-state mutual aid, which is about a little over 50 departments here in our local area. Then we have a state mutual aid. State mutual aid requested resources. We were on the 2nd wave of resources. We were on a strike team of engine companies and tankers from this area. We met at the Ottawa area, went to Athens, picked up other crews from Dunlap, Sequatchie County, Ray County, and went on into Pigeon Forge. And once we arrived there in Pigeon Forge, we received our first assignment about 5 minutes in. Not knowing at the time, but they had about 5 different fires going. The fire we were dispatched to was a 5-acre fire just outside Gatlinburg. When we arrived on scene, we had 50 acres involved and had 1 house on the ground or 1 apartment building. Our crews contained 50-acre fire and saved all the other dwellings that were in that location. So the crews, we went for about 24 hours before we had a 4-hour rest cycle. And then we were dispatched to another incident after that. But the crews never complained, 100%. You know, this is what we do. You call for help and we come. There was a lot of crews up there. When we got there, The departments that responded initially had lost 4 engine companies. They were consumed by fire. We got to talk with some of the crews that were directly involved. Some of the guys went through some of their worst moments of their life. They survived. They went back to their training and they survived a situation that a lot of people would not have. And then again, it goes back to the training, the way they were trained. But there's some good stories come out of it, some good benefits. There were a lot of structures saved by what we sent resources to help Sevier County do. And I think the guys did a great job.
Thank you, sir. Under old business, can be ordinance number 1164. Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Eastridge to amend Title 7, Eastridge City Code, Chapter 2, Fire Code to delete Section 308.1.4 of the 2018 edition of the International Fire Code previously adopted by ordinance number 1094 and replaced with new language. That would be the second and final reading. Do you have any discussion, council? See none. The next item would be ordinance number 1165, ordinance to amend Title 8, Section 8-317 of the Eastridge Municipal Code to update the certificate of compliance restrictions related to the construction of a retail package liquor store. That would be second and final reading. Any discussion, council? See none. Next is ordinance number 1166, an ordinance to submit a referendum to the people of Eastridge, Tennessee, the question of amending the charter of the City of Eastridge, Tennessee by amending Section 6-B1 of charter. This would be the second and final reading. Do you have any discussion on that item, council? See none. Under new business, we would have a public hearing for an unnumbered ordinance for rezoning of the 1200 South Seminole Drive from R1 Residential District to R2 Residential District, followed by the ordinance for this rezoning 1200 South Seminole Drive from R1 Residential District to R2 Residential Duplex District. This would be the first reading. Mr. Howell.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we didn't get the advertisement out in time for this, so the public hearing will actually be on the second reading for this. So,
Okay.
Basically what this is, it's an existing duplex that they're wanting to basically conform to R2. It was blanket rezoned back in the 80s. I've been up here many times and told council that, you know, at one time in the 80s, all Eastridge was zoned urban residential, where you could put a single family duplex, and so forth. You see them all out here. So basically just bring this existing duplex into conformity.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? I see none. The next item would be a public hearing. Do we have proper notice on this one?
We do.
Okay. Public hearing for an unnumbered resolution for a sign variance for Portofino's. And then following the resolution. Yes, sir.
That's correct, Mayor and Council. This would take, basically our sign ordinance says you can't put, paint anything on the top of a roof, or you can't put a sign on top of a roof. Portofino's is wanting to put basically a V-shaped, as it's in your packet, showing their sign that would, and I did scale this from the drawings, which showed it about 10 feet, but I did get confirmation from the applicant that the sign itself will be actually 11 feet from the roof deck. And to put that in perspective, that would bring that about 43 feet. Champy's tops out at like 41 feet. So if that gives you guys any idea how tall the sign is. It's only 2 feet taller than Champy's building.
All right. Any question, council?
Are they going to want a monument sign out front too also?
No, sir. Because of the C2, you're allowed to take these buildings and push them so far front to the front setbacks. We've reduced that to 5 feet. So there won't be a monument sign. This is actually going to act kind of like a monument sign just placed on top of a building that's been dissected with an arrow pointing. So you can see it, east and west on Ringgold Road.
Any other questions? See none. Thank you, sir. Then the last item is item E, an unnumbered resolution approval of TDOT mowing contract.
Yes, Mayor, that's, this is an annual contract that we have with TDOT to mow exit 1. And I don't have the sheet with me, but I Diane, it's somewhere around like $8,600, right? A year, something like that. But yes, this resolution will be in the next, like you said, the next meeting for council to approve. Because obviously we mow it a lot more frequently than TDOT would. TDOT would only do it a few times a year. We try to keep exit 1, with it being the gateway into Tennessee right there. We try to keep it looking as well as we can. As good as we can.
Yeah, the memo states 8820 for the amount. But any questions, council? I see none. Is there any other business council would like to bring forward? I see none. Thanks everyone for being here this evening. I wish everyone a great weekend and a very happy Easter. This meeting is adjourned.